7 News at 5 starts now. Now in 7, the polls are closed, but the presidency is still up in the air, and local leaders are on alert.
You have to be prepared for any outcome of this election.
We have to be patient, and we have to respect the democratic process.
We have Team 7 coverage of this undecided election.
First at 5 o'clock, a live look at the White House in Washington, D.C. Both President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden hoping they will be able to call the White House their 4-year home come late January. But a day after the election, we still don't know who the winner is. Here's a look at where the count stands right now. You can see Biden is leading President Trump in electoral votes with 248 compared to President Trump's 214. 270 is the number to win. But we are still waiting on results from several states right now, including some key contests. Those races just too close to call at this point. And right now, we have some breaking news. President Trump's campaign is asking the Supreme Court to intervene in Pennsylvania.
In that state, ballots received by Friday can be counted as long as they are postmarked on or before Election Day. Earlier this day, the Trump campaign filed a lawsuit against the state of Pennsylvania. The campaign calling on counting to stop, upset over what it calls a lack of transparency during the counting process, not being able to observe the ballot counting. There's a legal battle in Michigan as well. The Trump campaign also filing a lawsuit there, asking the state to stop counting until it receives meaningful, quote, access to the counting process. The race in the key swing state of Wisconsin just called for Joe Biden this afternoon, and the president's campaign says it's requesting a recount because it has been such a, quote, razor-thin race in the state of Wisconsin.
People all across our country responding to the results of the election. Here's Sky 7 over the Boston Common today, where people gathered for a rally to call for all votes to be counted. We have Team 7 coverage as we watch the results of the race, from what the campaigns are saying today to what a legal expert is saying about the process of counting ballots after Election Day, and much more. Dan Housley live in the newsroom to break down the very latest results at 5 o'clock. Dan?
Well, Adam and Kim, the latest result this afternoon was adding another blue state to the map, and that state was Wisconsin. Let's take a look at where you've got it filled in. And Wisconsin, with it head-to-head 50-49 right now, with about more than 98% of the precincts reporting there. You've got 50% for Joe Biden, 49% for President Trump. And even if there's a few percentage points out there, the assumption is that those are in areas that Joe Biden was strong, or you've got absentee ballots and ballots filled in before Election Day, where, again, Joe Biden is strong. Let's look at the head-to-head count continuing in the other states that are out there. Michigan, with about 97% of the votes counted. Again, Biden took the lead here overnight. He stands at 50% to 49%. Again, this is a state where the thinking is whatever percentage of votes are still out there are strongly for Joe Biden. But it's not certain yet, so that's why this one isn't quite declared yet. Moving on to Pennsylvania, this one has the most votes still left out there. We're looking at about 84% of the vote there, and President Trump is ahead by 5 percentage points. But it is thought that with a 16% of the vote out there, that a lot of that is Joe Biden vote, and it's not certain again. But the thinking here from the Biden campaign is that they'll be able to close this up, but it's going to be a while before we know for sure. One more state to look at is Georgia. This was a bit of a surprise last night. It continues to be competitive for Joe Biden, with 94% of the votes in right now, and Joe Biden behind by just a percentage point. This one, it's less clear whether he's going to be able to make up the margin, but right now he is trying to make that up with 94% of the vote in and trailing by about 1 percentage point. So let's see how that leaves us with now half a dozen states yet to be filled in. We've got Wisconsin filled in there, Michigan not filled in, Pennsylvania not filled in. We go to the South, North Carolina and Georgia also waiting for results there. Then we come out west, and we've got Nevada and Alaska, which we think will eventually be filled in red for President Trump. Nevada, not sure, probably leaning blue at this time. So let's take a look again at that Electoral College number. Joe Biden, 248 electoral votes, just 22 votes short of the 270 he needs to become president. President Trump at 214, he needs pretty much all the states left to do that. So let's talk to Spencer Kimball now at this time, after we look at the popular vote, Joe Biden ahead by about almost 3 million votes, by 2 percentage points. This is essentially pretty much the same margin that Hillary Clinton won by, maybe even just a little bit more. And Joe Biden himself was bragging in his statement he just made a little bit ago that this will be the most votes that anyone has gotten on the road to the presidency. And he says, of course, that he thinks he is on the road to eventual that being declared. Spencer Kimball has been following all of this along with us, our Emerson College pollster. And Spencer, what does it look like each candidate has to do at this point? It looks like there's one road for President Trump winning everything left, and there are several roads for Joe Biden. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty much sums it up where we're at. We're going to need, or President Trump's going to need to change over some of these states that are now, excuse me, leaning towards Joe Biden, particularly in Michigan, which seems to be out of play, or in Nevada. Obviously, Arizona is a state that he's contesting, but that's been given to Joe Biden. We'll see if votes change that. But if he's unable to swing one of those two states, even if he was to hold Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia, that's going to be a problem. He'll come up short by about 2 electoral votes. On the flip side, Joe Biden, he has a chance down in Georgia. There's a lot of outstanding votes still having to be counted. So if he was able to turn that state, it could turn this into more of a electoral spread that would mimic more of a larger victory.
From what you're hearing from the Trump campaign and from the Biden campaign, what do you think the strategy is here now for each of them? It sounds like Biden is hoping that he doesn't have to wait for Pennsylvania and then he can win it with some other combination. And the Trump campaign not wanting to wait for that inside straight, but somehow trying to turn back the hands of time against some of those states that are already going the Biden way.
Yeah, I think the president's going to try to slow down the counting process and try to declare that some votes shouldn't be accepted in the ballot for a variety of reasons. And I think you've already stated that he's requested the Supreme Court or filed other actions. But we just saw last week the Supreme Court side with North Carolina and allowing the extra 3 days to process mail balloting. So I'm not sure that they would, in that argument, side with the president. On the flip side, I think Joe Biden doesn't mind the more counting going on, seems to be in his favor, particularly here up in Michigan and over in Pennsylvania. I'm not sure if he has enough votes in Pennsylvania to turn that one back, but that puts a lot of pressure on the president to have to hold that state.
Spencer, do you think this shows that the system works or the system's broken?
Oh, no, I think the system, this is democracy in action, over 150 million votes. As you mentioned, Joe Biden he already has more votes than any other presidential candidate. He broke Barack Obama's record of 2008, which was about 70 million votes. But I also think Donald Trump is going to break the record of Barack Obama's 2008 campaign and get over 70 million votes as well, or at least very close to that number. So we saw a lot of people come out and voice their opinion in a peaceful manner, and that's what a democracy is supposed to do. And as we count these votes, I expect the same to continue.
All right, Spencer, thank you for your thoughts here. I'm going to turn it back right now to Jadian and Ryan.
Actually, it's Adam and Kim. Dan,
we've been here for hours and days. It kind of blends, but nice job, by the way.
We've had our reporters on the road for days following the candidates and the developments within their campaigns respectively.
Yes, Joe Biden addressing the legal challenges from the campaign, the Trump campaign today. Let's get the latest on the Biden camp. 7's Jonathan Hall still there, live for us in Wilmington, Delaware.
Well, good afternoon, guys. Joe Biden finally came out and spoke to the nation today, not up there on the stage, but inside the Chase Center behind me. He said he is not ready to declare victory, but that moment could be coming soon.
I'm not here to declare that we've won, but I am here to report when the count is finished, we believe we will be the winners.
Just before 3 p.m., the 77-year-old Biden traveled to the Chase Center here in Delaware, where he appeared on stage last night with his wife Jill, unable to declare victory. Despite indications he may be close to the prize, he still cannot do that yet.
I feel very good about Pennsylvania. Virtually all the remaining ballots to be counted were cast by mail.
Pennsylvania could tip the balance. Lots of voters cast their ballots early. They lined up at Philadelphia City Hall to voice their choice, and people used mail-in ballot boxes frequently. With 84% of the vote counted, President Trump leads Biden by nearly 400,000 votes in the Keystone State, but they're still counting up all those votes in Philadelphia, a heavily Democratic area where Biden could make up some ground. Biden rejects President Trump's insistence that the election is a fraud and the U.S. Supreme Court should step in now.
We, the people, will not be silenced. We, the people, will not be bullied. We, the people, will not surrender. My friends, I'm confident we'll emerge victorious. But this will not be my victory alone or our victory alone. It'll be a victory for the American people.
The Biden campaign released this statement, quote, "The president's statement tonight about trying to shut down the counting of duly cast ballots was outrageous, unprecedented, and incorrect. It is a naked effort to take away the democratic rights of American citizens." Joe Biden did not mention President Trump by name. At this point, he and his wife are headed back to their home in Greenville, Delaware, we believe. And are we going to see him on the stage tonight? We'll have to wait and see what the numbers say. Reporting live in Delaware, Jonathan Hall, 7 News.
All right, let's get the latest now from the Trump campaign. And for that, we go to 7's Steve Cooper. He is there still live for us in Washington. Steve.
Kim, a lot of frustration late this afternoon from the Trump campaign staffers. They are outraged over all this ballot counting, and they say they're taking their concerns to court. As for the president, take a look at the White House beyond us here tonight. No signs of the president today, but he was doing an awful lot of tweeting about all this. In a rare moment never seen before, it was President Trump addressing the nation in the middle of the night. 2:25 a.m. to be exact, from the East Room of the White House.
This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election. With more and more businesses still boarding up windows here in downtown D.C., the president is hunkered down behind that non-scalable fencing wrapped around the White House with no public events on his schedule at the moment. He was, however, tweeting earlier today about the election, saying, "Last night I was leading, often solidly, in many key states, in almost all instances, Democrat run and controlled. Then one by one they started to magically disappear as surprise ballot dumps were counted. Very strange, and the pollsters got it completely and historically wrong." In a second tweet, the president writes, "How come every time they count mail-in dumps, they are so devastating their percentage and power of destruction?"
We're going to win Pennsylvania, but they're trying to cheat us out of it because they know it's their only path to victory.
No lawyers, no media will defend us.
Outside the White House, an eerie calm filled with nervous anxiety about what the days ahead may bring.
It feels like this is the most momentous thing that's happening right now, and it is a big deal, and it's going to affect our lives, but so does a lot of other stuff.
It's clear from the president's perspective, all this appears to be headed to the highest court in the land.
We want the law to be used in a proper manner. So we'll be going to the U.S. Supreme Court. We want all voting to stop.
So here we go, back-to-back nights. Demonstrators anxiously waiting for word on election results. Outside the White House, they sit and they wait for word on any new numbers to come out, and still nothing from the White House and the president on whether or not he intends to address the nation at any point between now and the end of the day. We're live in Washington outside the White House tonight. Steve Cooper, 7 News.
And the counting does continue. Officials in Nevada say no more results until at least tomorrow. Counting also still happening in Pennsylvania ahead of the Friday deadline to receive ballots in that state. As we mentioned, the president wants the Supreme Court to intervene in that process.
One expert now talking about those legal challenges. 7's Byron Burnett is live to explain. Byron.
Yeah, President Trump not hiding his dissatisfaction with the election process. He now says he's taking legal action in the nation's highest court.
So we'll be going to the U.S. Supreme Court. We want all voting to stop.
President Trump declaring victory in the wee hours of the morning, saying he'll ask the High Court to stop states like Pennsylvania from counting ballots that arrive after Election Day.
There's 26 states that allow ballots that come in after Election Day, if they're postmarked on Election Day, to be counted. That's the issue.
But election law attorney Dennis Newman says Joe Biden's legal team will no doubt be ready to challenge the president.
That's not the case. These people are not voting after Election Day. They voted on Election Day or before, and their ballots should be counted.
As lead counsel for the Al Gore campaign during the Florida recount in 2000, Newman has seen the High Court decide a presidential election. In Bush versus Gore, the Florida Supreme Court ordered a recount for the entire state until the U.S. Supreme Court stepped in.
The court ruled to stop the count, and President Bush was ahead and won the election. I'd like to say he won it by one vote. It was a 5-4 decision.
With a 4-4 ruling, the U.S. Supreme Court was unable to overrule the Pennsylvania Supreme Court and stop the counting of late arriving ballots. But Newman says that could change now that 9 justices are on the High Court.
Certainly could. Remember that President Trump has appointed 3 of the justices.
And Newman estimates that both the Trump and Biden campaigns have thousands of lawyers researching voting laws in several states. That's the latest live. I'm Byron Barnett, 7 News.
So again, Pennsylvania, one of the key states that is still actively counting. Ballots received by Friday can be legally counted as long as they are postmarked by Election Day, November 3rd. President Trump is challenging that in court coming up at 5:30. We will hear from election officials in that state about how they are handling this process onward.
Sky 7 HD over Boston this afternoon. You can see people gathered on the Common. They held a rally. Citizens were calling for a peaceful transfer of power, no matter the result of the election. And leaders in the city of Boston are now encouraging people to keep the peace at any demonstrations that may happen over the next few days.
The National Guard is also prepared to help keep order if needed. 7's Kimberly Bookman live in Boston with more at 5 o'clock. Kimberly.
Well, Adam, so far so good. There was a rally here on Boston Common, started at 3:30, just wrapped up now at 5 o'clock. Everything peaceful. The day after the election, hundreds gather on Boston Common to make sure the voting process works for everyone.
Just seems like it's very important this year that we start taking a strong stand for making every vote count.
It is believed a record-breaking 3.6 million votes were cast for the presidential election here in Massachusetts. And while mail-in ballots postmarked by November 3rd continue to get counted, the unofficial tally gives Vice President Joe Biden the win. But in other hotly contested states, the results are not yet determined, and President Donald Trump is demanding election officials stop counting votes.
The idea that you would somehow disqualify the rights of voters simply because you're ahead is unacceptable and un-American and criminal, because these people have a right to vote and they have voted and they need to be counted.
With no set winner yet, voters who are already anxious say their nerves are frayed. Boston business owners have boarded up storefronts just in case this escalates to protesting in the streets.
We know it's a contentious election and that people will voice their opinions, but when you voice your First Amendment rights, do so with the voices of logic, not the ignorance of destruction.
The governor has the National Guard on the ready, but Boston's mayor hopes people can remain civil, raising only their voices and doing it safely.
If there's demonstrations in the city, protests, I'm asking people to do it early, be home by 9:30. Again, it's about other people's health here.
Here in the Commonwealth, leaders say they'll exercise their freedom of speech to protect the freedom to vote.
We don't care how long it takes to win this battle, but we will win this fight to make sure that every vote is counted in the United States.
And the ACLU organized today's rally. There are several more events planned across the Commonwealth tonight. Police are on high alert. Reporting live from Boston, Kimberly Bookman, 7 News.
So as we've told you, the National Guard is in Boston, ready to respond. Crews are preparing to handle any problems that may come up. How they're doing that as the city reacts to the election results, we will have a live report addressing that ahead at 5:30. And stay with the news station for the latest on the election. Steve Cooper, Jonathan Hall will continue following the presidential candidates. As soon as new developments come in, we will bring them to you live.
We are following more news today. Yes, there is other news. And how about the weather? A little bit warmer out there.
Yeah, and expected to get even better, Josh. We are looking forward to what you have to say today.
Yeah, if you like today, you will love tomorrow, and you'll love the forecast all the way through the weekend. Your 7-day coming up.
And we are staying on top of the breaking election news. President Trump's campaign asking the Supreme Court to intervene in Pennsylvania. The president campaign suing the state earlier today over what it's calling a lack of transparency in the counting process. And former VP Joe Biden this afternoon saying every vote must be counted. Stay with the news station. We'll have much more